Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. A very warm welcome to all our participants, dignitaries, and our esteemed guest speakers to the online seminar on 2021 Southwest Monsoon and Impact on Bullion and Agri Markets, organized by the IMC Chamber of Commerce and Industry in association with MCX. All participants will be muted to avoid any disturbances during the course of this session. To consume less bandwidth and have clarity, you shall stop the video streaming from your end. Kindly post all your relevant queries and feedback in the chat section so that the same can be addressed and noted during the Q&A session. So please do give us feedbacks so that we can improve and we can add more and more subjects for these sessions. Thank you. As we begin the session, may I request Mr. Juzer Khorakiwala, Vice President, IMC Chamber of Commerce and Industry, to present the welcome address. Over to you, Mr. Khorakiwala. Sir, let me unmute you. Yes, sir.
Yeah, good afternoon, everybody, respected speakers, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen. I welcome you all on behalf of IMC Chamber of Commerce and Industry and Multi-Commodity Exchange of India Limited. It gives me immense pleasure to welcome each one of you to this timely seminar on 2021 Southwest Monsoon and Impact on Bullion and Agri Markets. A warm welcome and a special thanks to all our speakers. Mr. Bhargava Vaidya, BN Vaidya and Associates, Mrs. Rajini Panikar Lamba, Vice President, Phillip Capital India Private Limited, Mr. TVK Chaitanya, VP, Agri Commodity Products, MCX, and our own Mr. J. Chandrasekhar, Economic Advisor, IMC Chamber of Commerce and Industry. Like in the 2020 match, which has just been cancelled, the year 2020, we saw fortunes change rapidly. Although the year 2020 destabilized our economic activities, agriculture has been a beacon of hope in these tough times. As the 2021 Rabi season ends and 21-22 Kharif season begins, farm-related activities are once again the focus of attention. India Meteorological Department announced its preliminary forecast of a normal southwest monsoon for 2021. This is good news for our farm sector. Normal rains normally translate into satisfactory harvest of Kharif crops. This will boost rural incomes. The correlation between rural incomes and demand for bullion in our country is well recognized. Everyone is keen to know the impact of monsoon on agricultural harvests. What are the prospects for cash crops such as cotton and oilseeds? How would the bullion market perform? Will there be a demand revival? What role do global markets dynamics play? Let us hear from our expert panelists their views on these above dynamics. Before I conclude, a few words about IMC. Established in 1907 and having its headquarters in the heart of the city of Mumbai, IMC Chamber of Commerce and Industry is an apex chamber in the Western region. With its membership base of over 5,000 members and over 150 trade organizations affiliated to it, IMC represents and advocates the interests of over 4 lakh businesses and industry establishments across the country covering these diverse sectors. IMC has 26 industry-specific committees of experts through which it provides policy inputs and recommendations at various levels of government and organizes activities where eminent business and government leaders engage with its members on a wide range of issues to create an environment for sustainable economic development. This year, the theme of the chamber is reboot, reform, and research, as these 3 factors are going to be crucial for India and other economies globally, reeling under the impact of the pandemic. IMC is a SEBI accredited training institution for promoting awareness about the commodity markets. Once again, I welcome you all to this very interesting event. I'm sure insights from the speakers would benefit all the participants. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Kurakiwala. May I now request our esteemed speaker, Mr. G. Chandrasekhar, Economic Advisor, IMC ERTF, to present the theme introductory address. Over to you, Mr. Chandrasekhar. I think we have lost connectivity with Mr. Chandrasekhar. Anita, can I take the next speaker?
Rajni.
Yeah, okay, fine, okay. Sorry, we have lost connectivity with Mr. Chandrasekhar. So I am taking the next speaker on board. He will come back and he'll be giving you an idea of the theme, basically why we have started this session. So may I now request our esteemed speaker, Mrs. Rajni Panikar Lamba, Vice President, Phillip Capital India Private Limited, to address the participants. Yes. Yes, Mr. Just a minute. Yes, please unmute yourselves. Yeah. You're good to go.
Okay, am I audible?
Yes, very much.
Okay, great. It's very unfortunate that we don't have Mr. G.C. Chandrasekhar sir introducing the
okay, he's come back. Huh? He's
agenda, the topic for the day. Oh, great! I know. I was like, I didn't know how to begin without your introduction. I was a bit lost.
Okay.
So great.
I know.
So, shall I hand it over to Mr. G. Chandrasekhar?
So I should stop sharing now.
Yeah.
Thanks, Mom.
And
thanks,
sir, over to you for the introductory remarks.
That's perfect. I need to now share screen, which I'm doing. And Selby has taught me how to do it quickly. Okay, I think I'm doing it quite fast this time. All right. I have to go to slideshow.
Yeah, slideshow.
Will go. All right. Okay, let me first thank our Vice President, Mr. Kurakiwala, for this wonderful welcome speech. And I also want to recognize the presence of IMC ERTF co-chair, Mr. Tanil Kilachan, who is also here. And I want to welcome again all the participants to this wonderful webinar. I must mention that the IMC Chamber of Commerce in the industry, I'm sure the Vice President mentioned in his welcome speech, is a SEBI accredited training institution for commodity derivatives. And I'm proud to say that in this country, IMC is the only Chamber of Commerce that is recognized by SEBI as a training institution for commodity derivatives. So with this opening statement, let us straight away jump into the subject, which I'm going to, over the next 10-12 minutes, speak about monsoon and markets. Okay? Now, why is this monsoon important, particularly the southwest monsoon between June and September? Primarily, southwest monsoon in India is a critical driver of our farm output. And the major crops that we cultivate are paddy, which is rice, pulses, coarse grains like maize and millets, oil seeds like groundnut and soybean, and of course cash crop like cotton. Also, monsoon is important because it also drives rural incomes, quite apart from providing drinking water, etc., etc. Although agriculture actually accounts for just about 14 or 15% of our GDP, it employs more than 50% of our workforce. And therefore, agriculture becomes important because it's an employment generator. It's a livelihood. It provides livelihood for more than 50% of our workforce. And the others are engaged, obviously, in the manufacturing sector and the services sector. Now, agriculture has to grow. If we have to have growth with equity, that is equitable growth. Everybody gets at least the basic minimum needs. If we need to have equitable growth and inclusive growth, that the benefits of growth flow to everybody, that agriculture must also grow. Unless agriculture grows well, 50% of the workforce which is engaged in agriculture may not have the benefit of economic growth in our country, and that is why agriculture is extremely important. Now let me talk straight away, go into southwest monsoon and the crop prospects. I am for this purpose only looking at two cash crops. One is cotton, the other one is oil seeds. And why are these two crops important? They are important for MCX. Let me be honest, and that's why I've taken. MCX obviously has great interest in the CPO futures, crude palm oil futures, and CPO, our import needs of palm oil would obviously depend on our domestic production of oil seeds, because we don't produce any significant quantity of palm oil in our country. Okay, so now the target for 21-22, the planting is going to start now. And I say now, in another 15 days or so, cotton planting will start, and in June, oilseed planting will start. So the target for this year 2021-22, the upcoming Kharif planting for cotton is 370 lakh bales. Okay, and the previous year, that is 2021, according to the Government of India, the actual output of cotton was 365 lakh bales. One bale is 170 kilograms. So that the bale is the way cotton is counted, cotton production. And therefore, this year the target is 370 lakh bales. Last year's output was 365 lakh bales. Although the trade has actually estimated cotton output slightly lower at even 360 lakh bales, but be that as it may, when we were to, if we look at oil seeds, the target for the whole year 2021-22 is 376 lakh tons for oil seeds. But this target is made up of two parts. One is a Kharif production target, the other is the Rabi production target. For the Kharif season, which is the planting for which is going to start now, the production target is 262 lakh tons. And for Rabi, it is 112 lakh tons. That's the target. Therefore, we should, I've taken the whole year's target of 376 lakh tons, but we should actually be focusing on 262 lakh tons of target for the upcoming Kharif season, which comprises primarily soybean, then you have groundnut, then you have sesame seed, then you have Niger seed, then you have a small quantity of sunflower seed, etc. These are major oilseed crops in the Kharif season. And for the Rabi season, of course, you have the major crop is a mustard crop. Okay. And therefore, will we achieve this 262 lakh tons of Kharif target? That's a big question. Okay. Therefore, the second issue that I want to raise here, which is very important, is even in 2021, while the Government of India talked about a soybean harvest of 137 lakh tons, the trade estimate is far lower, 105 lakh tons according to SOPA's last report, the soybean processor's last report. There's a big difference, 22 lakh tons, 22%, 24% is a difference between government estimate and the trade estimate. So we don't know who is right. Is the government number correct, or is the government number overestimated or overstated? Is the trade number correct, or is the trade underplaying the numbers? Probably the truth lies somewhere in between. We don't know. But if we believe the market is a final arbiter, and if we believe that the market prices actually reflect the correct level of production, then the current price of soybean, which is very high, more than 7,500 rupees a quintal, and close to double the minimum support price, would actually provide evidence that soybean production in 2021 was far less than what the government had estimated. Therefore, this is something all of we need to remember. The same thing can potentially happen next year also. Okay. Now, what are the market drivers? Currently, globally, there is a bullish fervor across commodities. All commodities prices have risen, particularly agriculture commodity prices have risen. Whether it is corn or wheat or cotton or cocoa or coffee or palm oil, you name it, the prices of all commodities are very near record levels. Okay, and therefore, why has this happened suddenly? There is a combination of three reasons why suddenly over the last say 2 quarters there has been a huge bull run in commodity markets in general and agri markets in particular. There's a combination, one, of weather. We had La Nina phenomenon in the last quarter of last year and even in the first quarter of this year. The La Nina phenomenon brings more rains in Asia, in South Asia and Southeast Asia. At the same time, it reduces rainfall. It creates dry conditions in the southern hemisphere, say in Southern America, in Brazil, in Argentina, Paraguay, and the southern hemisphere in general. And therefore, while we had last year, June to September and even till October, very good rains in our country. South America, which is a significant producer of soybean, of corn, of cotton, they did not have good weather, and therefore there was actually a shortage. Even Europe faced La Nina weather problems last year, and then therefore sunflower seed production dropped. Prices have gone up by at least 50 to 60%. The entire edible oil complex prices are far higher. So weather has played a significant role in lifting agriculture commodity prices in the last 2 quarters. The second reason is liquidity. In the US, as you know, the Federal Reserve has infused huge liquidity, dropped interest rates to near zero levels, and therefore this near zero interest rate and massive trillions of dollars of liquidity which has been injected into the economy is again a part of the liquidity is flowing into commodities, and as investment capital, and obviously it is it's lifting commodity prices, and this liquidity is most likely to continue at least throughout 2021 and possibly even until early 2022 if the signals that we get from the US Federal Reserve are any indication. US dollar is substantially weakened in the last 1 year, and it just about very slowly showing incipient signs of firming up, of appreciating, but it's going to be a very tortuous road for the dollar to rapidly. I don't think it's going to rapidly appreciate. It will appreciate. I'm bullish on the dollar, but it'll take quite some time for the dollar to begin to appreciate. But the signals are very clear. Therefore, there is a combination of weather, liquidity, and weak dollar. Huge liquidity, weak dollar, plus the weather phenomenon of La Nina. That combined to lift agriculture commodity market globally up. And when global prices are high, it's certainly going to impact India because we are not insulated from the global market. After all, we are a part of the global market, and we are either big importers of agriculture commodities or we are exporters of agriculture. We export a lot of cotton, for example. We import a lot of edible oil, 13, 14 million tons of edible oil every year, valued at about $10 billion. So through the free trade policy, our markets are integrated with the global market. So global influences certainly impact our market. This is something all of us have to remember. Now, the IMD, India Meteorological Department, has actually forecast normal southwest monsoon for 2021. It's the third year of normal monsoon, which is forecast. 2019 we had normal monsoon. 2020 we had normal. 2021 2021 also the forecast is a normal rainfall. But my sense, we look very closely at the forecast made by the IMC, the IMD. Uh, the forecast is very clear. Last year, the IMD said that the probability of India getting above normal rainfall was 70%. And then we did get slightly above normal rainfall. If you all remember, the monsoon actually got extended beyond September to to October end. But this year, the IMD has said that the probability of India getting uh, above normal rainfall is actually only 60% vis-a-vis last year's 70%. Therefore, I think there is a possibility that the rainfall will be normal, rainfall will be good, but it won't be as beneficial, as munificent, as copious as it was in 2020. Therefore, we need to bear that in mind. And what is also important is the temporal and spatial distribution of the rainfall over the 4-month period, June, July, August, September, and spatially across the country, in all those regions, north, west, east, south, central India, how it's going to pan out over the next 4 months. That's called the temporal and spatial distribution of rainfall. That forecast will come by the end of May or early June from the IMD, and that will further give signal to the market whether all the regions are going to get adequate rainfall, or whether some regions might face some kind of less rainfall, or whether all the rains, the pattern of rainfall over 4 months will be fairly well distributed. We still don't know. I think we need to wait for that. But what is also important is currently the prices are very high. Whether it's the price of oil seeds or pulses or any agriculture commodity for that matter, prices are quite high. Obviously reflecting the global market trends. And this, in my opinion, high prices, particularly coming at the close proximity of planting for the Kharif crop, is going to certainly encourage Indian farmers to plant more. So I will not be surprised if the acreage under Kharif oilseeds, both soybean and groundnut mainly, if they were to expand, it should come as no surprise at all. Because after all, price is the best incentive the farmer can get. Now, global factors, in my view, again, are more likely to soften in the price rally is going to peter out most likely in the second half of the year, because prices have gone up. Northern hemisphere, including the US and Canada, North America in general, Europe, in all these countries, I'm sure agriculture acreages are going to increase, and their harvest would come sometime in September, October, and therefore that is the time the market will start correcting. Therefore, these bullish factors will start softening in the second half of the year. But at the same time, the sentiment is continuing to remain quite buoyant, primarily because of very positive impact of vaccination, large-scale vaccination across the world, particularly in the Americas, and of course in Europe, and of course improving economic activity. For example, economic activity in the United States, economic activity in China, etc. Therefore, this is going to keep the markets quite buoyant, although the supplies are likely to increase in the second half of the year. Therefore, the question is, in India, we know a good monsoon, good agriculture crops, and good prices obviously lift rural incomes. And when rural incomes are lifted, demand for rural-oriented goods and services will also be lifted. Demand will increase. Therefore, the question is, to what extent this year in 2021, will the monsoon, the normal forecast, and if the monsoon were to behave in a normal fashion, to what extent will it lift the rural incomes and thereby generate more demand for various goods and services? That's a big question all of us have to think about. But I also want to enter a caveat, a caution, is that the Ministry of Agriculture has recognized that there is a tightness in the supply of seeds, soybean seeds for planting, even maize or corn seeds for planting. There's a tightness in supplies. Remember, even in 2020, there was a shortage of soybean for planting. And farmers that planted even 2-3-year-old seeds, which obviously did not have enough seed vigor, and then therefore the germination percentage declined. And that's one of the reasons why the actual output has actually fallen to say 100 or 105 lakh tons of soybean. This year we are facing the same situation. And the government has expressed hope that the private sector would actually try and boost the availability of seeds, etc. We need to wait and watch. Now, there is a strong positive correlation between rural incomes and demand for gold and silver. I'm sure our friend Bhargava will talk more about it. But this correlation between rising rural incomes and rising rural demand for gold is of course well known. And therefore, if we have normal monsoon, normal crops, good prices for the farmers, it should logically increase demand for gold. But there are now, in India, at least in India, there are concerns emerging because of large-scale fresh infections, and of course, no national lockdown, but regional lockdowns that we are facing. And therefore, will that impact demand? We need to wait and watch. It's very difficult at this point of time to pass judgment, because we don't know how this rate of infection is going to behave, and whether it will start declining maybe towards the end of the month or whatever. And the second question is price elasticity. In India, we know India is a highly price conscious market, and at higher prices we consume less and less. At lower prices we consume more and more. We are a highly price conscious market, and therefore it's called price elasticity of demand. When gold prices are now 45, 46, 47,000 rupees for 10 grams, which were probably 10,000 rupees lower this time last year, if I recall correctly, then will this discourage consumers from buying? Okay, and this is another question all of us have to think about, and I'm sure again Bhargav will have some answer for us. Now, this is a data I thought I'll share with this house, with the participants. Look at India has been is the world's largest importer of gold. 968 tons in 2015-16. It dropped to 780, then 955, 983. I think huge numbers. And then of course it was 720. And 2021, obviously because of the lockdown and COVID and other restrictions, a loss of jobs, loss of incomes, April to December, the number was 306 tons of gold import. And my sense is that in Jan, Feb, March, it must be about 150 tons. Therefore, I think the total import in the financial year, April 20 to March 21, should most likely be around 450 tons. And it's a sharp drop, obviously, from what we had seen in earlier years. Very importantly, the government has admitted that they have no mechanism to measure demand. It is simply assumed that what we import, we consume. I'm afraid that may not be the case. What we import may be also for inventory building. Okay, therefore, that's not consumption. That's inventory building. It may have to come for consumption at some point of time. Therefore, we also import not only for domestic, we import gold, not only for domestic consumption, but also for export by making jewelry, etc. And therefore, we need to know how much is the gold content in the jewelry export. Then we'll be able to make a reasonable estimate of our domestic consumption. But we found massive demand destruction, as the numbers show, last year in 2020 because of the pandemic and lockdown, etc. There was demand destruction as far as gold is concerned. Hope that demand revived this year, and therefore with this, I want to mention that yes, we have a normal a forecast of a normal monsoon. The production targets are all quite good, and when the market, the monsoon, the distribution of rainfall, I have reason to believe should be normal, or by and large it should be normal across India, across those 4 months. That should create a reasonably good quantum of agriculture production that can also boost the confidence of the nation and confidence of the rural population, and therefore that could possibly be a factor to drive demand for bullion also. So I just want to stop here. Thank you very much. I want to enter a disclaimer. I am not a trader. I don't trade. I don't hold any trading position, neither in the physical market nor in the derivatives market. So with this, let me say good luck and God bless you all. Stay safe. But I'll continue to be here on the show to hear other three expert speakers. And I will now stop sharing. Sylvie, have I stopped sharing?
Yes, I stopped it.
I'm done. I'm done. Thank you very much. Can we now invite Rajni Panikar if she is ready to start? And Rajni, thank you very much. It's not the first time that you stood by me. You've done it 2 or 3 times earlier also. So thank you very much. God bless. Yeah.
Hello.
Thank you, sir. Am I audible?
Yeah.
You are breaking.
Am I audible?
And your video is frozen. Okay, now it's fine.
Okay, so let me just. So what I'll do is I'll stop the video. And
okay.
Is my presentation visible?
Yes.
Yes.
And is the audio better now?
Yes.
Okay, great. So I think before my connectivity dies out on me again, let's quickly address the topic that I've been given. And sir, thank you so much. I actually was looking forward to you doing the introduction because like I correctly estimated, you've covered most of what I want to speak. So my job becomes that much more easier. I don't want to keep the audience captivated and repeat what you have so very well put across of the importance of Southwest monsoon on the agri markets. What I perhaps will do is just take you through some slides which has a bit more details on most of the topics that you have covered. So I will just jump to my first slide. Okay, I think my screen is not moving. Just a minute. I'm having some problem here. The screen sharing has stopped, it says.
Did you enable editing?
Yeah. Share it again.
And enable editing.
Yeah.
Okay.
Good.
Okay.
So yeah. So I begin. So I begin the presentation with what the Ministry of Agri, just to establish the basis, a quick, the quick reasoning of Southwest monsoon's impact on Indian agriculture. So we start today's presentation with a graph from the Ministry of Agriculture, which tabulates crop-wise the dependence of major crops on rain-fed and irrigation. So as can be seen from the graph quite clearly, apart from food grains, which also includes rice, most of the other major crops, the darker blue side of the graph, which shows that it's rain-fed, the dark blue indicates that it's rain-fed, still has a high percentage of being dependent on monsoons for its production. So given such a basis, obviously the Southwest monsoon becomes the major focus year after year for a lot of macro indicators because it holds a a large importance for the agriculture market. Like Chandrasekhar sir said, a quick number is that India's agriculture, according to the latest economic survey numbers released early this year, is that agriculture contributes 20% of India's GDP. It is estimated around close to 59–60% of the population, a bit more than perhaps 50%, still depends on agriculture directly or indirectly. Given the fact, first, what we see is that a large portion of Indian agriculture still is rain-fed. Nearly 60% of the population depends on agriculture and allied sector, and therefore the importance of southwest monsoon cannot be overstated. And therefore, the constant understanding, the constant forecast for southwest monsoon is always a need of the hour for us here in India. Digging down a little bit more on when we come into food grains, like we said, it's about 48% that is still rain-fed. A large part of it is supported by southwest monsoon as well as the northeast monsoon, but it's again the southwest that contributes to 75% of the rainfall. When it comes to about the product, what happens during the southwest monsoon, like Chandrasekhar sir did show, that nearly 50% of our 300 million tons of food grains gets produced during the Kharif season. That is when we have southwest monsoon, and about 70% of our 37 million tons of oil seeds get produced during the summer season. So this basically is the premise and the importance of southwest monsoon to agriculture, largely because Indian agriculture is rain-fed. It has a huge population that is dependent on agriculture. A lot of India's agricultural production happens during these key 4 summer months when southwest monsoons arrive in India. And also, without forgetting, it is the southwest monsoon that fills up all the reservoirs, which is then used for our Rabi crop production. So obviously, once again, its importance cannot be overstated. Quickly, as to what are the forecasts that we have right now, as discussed earlier, it's the IMD as well as SkyMet, the private agency that has come up with the forecast. Yes, the forecasts look good because monsoon average rainfall should be about 96 to 104% of the LPS. So we are within what is looking as a normal rainfall for this season. What is interesting to spend a few minutes, perhaps this graph that was also put in this forecast, that there distribution of monsoon. So the good news is, of course, in line with their photos, those colors indicate that monsoon in these regions will be normal to above normal. So it's good news for most of the oilseed growing regions of Maharashtra, of MP, Gujarat, Rajasthan, cotton, Telangana, all look blue. What happens a little bit of Haryana, paddy there, it has cotton there, P with again sugar prices, which is urad, and then Bihar have good monsoon coverage, at least the initial forecast, which should support cotton. So this is, of course, the first of estimates. A more detailed take month-wise and spatial distribution estimates will come out in May, and that is something that we should look at. Quick look at how IMD's forecast, which is the table just below southwest monsoon forecast. IMD forecast was don't usually get it right most of the time. In 2020, in 2019, like but it was below. A So it's far too early at this moment. But having said that, we do not. So we are all likelihood, whether it's the government, whether it's the trading community, we are all looking at normal to normal rates for India. The other weather systems quickly, that will influence our monsoon, which is World Weather Inc. and it is based out of US. They forecast that the La Nina 2020 completed or closed in April 2021 and could reappear somewhere in August and September. La Nina is a phenomena which results into over or high, more above normal rainfall for the Indian subcontinent. And if it's coming in around August, September is something that we have to monitor. That is when the crops gets harvested. So right now, of course, early in the season to talk about anything, but one of the weather systems that we should look about is La Nina, which is expected to re-emerge towards the end of the season. So if that shifts, then perhaps we could also look into very good growing conditions for the Rabi crop. So that's also quite a likelihood that we could look at. The IOD, which is neutral currently, a neutral to a positive IOD is again associated with good to above normal rainfall. The MGO, which is currently somewhere around the American longitudes, it is moving eastwards, should hit India about around August and could bring in higher rainfall. So the IMD forecast, SkyMet, other weather systems, I think all of it put together, we are looking at early indications which show a normal to above normal rainfall. A quick primer on Kharif crops. Of course, this is basic geography textbook knowledge from our schools. But just to put it in perspective, as we head into southwest monsoon months, most of our major crops get sown from May, get harvested around October, November. For all in the trade,
Your voice is breaking lot.
Is the requirement of monsoons for these crops is the highest during stage. Sorry, I don't know what to. Is it any better?
Yes, I presume.
Hello.
Yeah, I think it is better. Hello? 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 Miss, I think, yeah, we have lost the connectivity. So shall I, sir,
Yeah.
can we?
Let me invite Bhargava to share his thoughts, and after that, of course, I'm sure Rajani will come back and complete a presentation. Bhargava, are you ready?
Start your videos.
Can you see me? Start video. Can you see me?
Yes, sir.
Perfect. Yeah.
Anyway, as Rajni said, you can relax and go to sleep if you're sleeping. You're speaking after Chandrasekhar sir. But he had promised me earlier that he is going to ask me questions so I can answer whatever he says and not relax through the entire session. But now he has said, no, you are going to learn to speak alone. I said, okay. Now let me just say what everyone has said. I'll repeat one part, and which is saying agriculture is something above 15% and around 20% of our GDP. That's not as important number as it looks like when you realize that it employs more than 50% of workforce. When it employs more than 50% of our workforce, it is a very, very important sector. And when you look from a bullion market perspective, if you look at the entire country, the most dependable consumer for the bullion market is a rural Indian. He does not believe in any other avenue of investment. Maybe for last few years they have looked at banking sector in a small way, but his most important portfolio item is bullion. And the smaller the farmer, which I was looking at statistics and reading today again, that 75% of the agricultural workforce are from marginal and smaller farmers. They perhaps have only one thing in their portfolio, which is bullion. So a good monsoon and a good income in their pocket would mean a very good thing for agriculturists. Now, when you look at pricing, this does not have, when you look at bullion pricing, now we are in line with the international market. I cannot think the time when, before I got active into this market, say before 90s, when Indian market was totally isolated from international market and we had a premium of 60%, prices used to go up and down in India, more so because of the monsoon part or the demand part. Now we don't know. I'm sorry, now it is not the reason. Now we will follow the price which is in international market, and as it happened in many other commodities also, that price is more decided by the players on the commodity exchange, the OTC market, and much larger, what we say, paper trade than the entire physical demand. So a very large physical demand will not impact the price of bullion, but yes, it will impact the business with the bullion commodity or the jewelers can do. I'll make a small distinction here that in past, since there was no bullion being allowed to be consumed, the jewelers used to make crude jewelry, but it never, and bullion would not be, no bullion was consumed. Now, just one second. I cannot see my screen. I've done something. If Pratna can help. Now we have an option that we can buy bullion as well as jewelry. This pandemic has changed a lot. In past, we used to always say that the most liquid asset in the world was gold, because anywhere, anytime, even if they at the time of war, we can sell bullion and get out. But now it is impossible. In this in COVID situation, first time we realized that people were not able to sell their bullion, as the jewelers was not ready to allow people to come inside their shop, or somebody knock their door and say sell. That might not go against bullion or bullion consumption, but we may change a little bit of the concept how bullion is bought. We may see more of digital gold buying. Luckily, at present, all the digital gold players are banking it with 100% gold. So the physical demand will go up. And if you are holding digital, you can still sell it. The interface with the rural area of the digital is improved a lot, but not at the same level which we would have thought it would be, because the spread of these new companies which are there has been slightly slow. There are microfinance companies and gold loan companies which are promoting it, but this will come up. So this is the only change which I have seen in last 1 year in COVID situation, that we may have to see, even for gold, that we are able to sell it in background without going and knocking at the jeweler store. Hey, check my gold and buy. Otherwise, it is very good. Now, if you see at the consumption figures with Chandrasekhar sir was saying, the consumption would remain steady from the percentage of the money which a person can spend. Yes, he cannot buy more quantity because he does not have more investment surplus. One good thing in India is that if the price goes up and then it corrects, people are very confident. No, 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 now let me go. And it stays there for some time, you'll see a better demand. Now, for a period last year, we saw gold above 50,000 and it has come down. And we see an improvement at present by even 1,000 rupees, now say 47, 48. So I presume that a good monsoon will mean a bumper demand. It is much lower than the peak which people have seen, which is above 50,000. So they are always very happy. Okay, gold is, I'm buying it below the peak I've seen. And as I was taught by somebody who knows bullion much more than me, that how do you market gold? He said, if anybody comes and asks me, भाव कब घटेगा? I only say, कि बेटा तुम्हारी उम्र कब घटेगी? I had a lot of black hair when I heard that. So
Good one.
It's a very, very, very good marketing strategy. And over a period of time, gold has always given a better return. Another reason is, intelligent people like Chandrasekhar sir and will say real interest rate, comparing with inflation and return rate and all that. Now, I won't be economist to say what is a real interest rate, but at grassroots, at present, where if the small people, farmers who had gone to other saving models or even bank, are coming back to bullion saying only one thing: at this interest rate, and they can see the inflation to them is pinching higher, gold is safer. It will always give me better return. Whether it is right or not, let me not see, but it is marketed that way by every jeweler saying, no, 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 iska bhav badega hi. As I was saying, because of the age or anything. So the gold is a very good marketing team in all the jewelers, and who are the most trusted financial advisors for them in the world. So gold is going to perform very well. I'll just take 1 minute for silver, because when we talk about bullion, it's much more than gold. It is gold, silver, platinum, and some places palladium also. Platinum and palladium, perhaps in Indian market, except for few large cities, is not there. So it's nothing to do with rural area or agricultural marketing. Silver is very, very important, but silver is more important in harvest of the winter crop, not the monsoon crop. And that is because there was an explanation going that if there is a way of flooding or a good monsoon where river has brought in lot of alluvial soil and there is a layering, it will improve. And silver has been too volatile. So there are many people who are afraid of silver, and it's not always given a constant return. We all have seen every few years silver going near 50, 60,000 and people saying it is going to be about 1 lakh a kilo. And then we have seen it correcting to 30, 40,000. So that volatility has been always been in silver. And it is saying in local language everywhere that silver is something for speculators, while gold is what I say store of value. And being store of value, people will like to invest in gold, and they have been given guidance. Okay, you should always invest in gold. You will conserve your wealth, and it has time and again perform better than inflation. So gold has will and would for next 100 years be the most trusted investment vehicle for rural India. Now, the figures which Chandrasekhar Sir had shared, I think this year, except for some very, very, very bad condition which may come due to COVID, which I don't foresee, and even if it comes and if government releases some support or sustenance scheme also, I see gold to be consumption in the highest of the figures which you had listed, and which was something around 700 to 800 tons in domestic market. Let us not get into the export market. The peak which we had seen would be there, and which I would put it in my estimate for the entire country somewhere around 1,000 tons. That could be a small de-hoarding or recycling, because as you had mentioned very rightly, that in some of the years we could see a lot of restocking or building of inventory. And if you go around the city or the rural area, you could see so many new shops coming up in huge size, which has stopped, and you have found rather some of them closing down and reducing the stock holding which they had. So all this would mean that consumption, if the imports are safe, consumption is going to improve. And in gold, though there is no great rush we feel, but underlying demand is very, very good. If you don't find rush just now, because most of the active state, delivery is a problem, because it is a non-essential item. None of the couriers or transporters can easily carry bullion. In the secured transportation system, when the last leg is there, they are not allowed to deliver because it's non-essential item. So the figures which we see are slightly strange. Even if I find fantastic import figures, I know where it is lying in walls only. It's a worry for some people like me who will be following this market closely. But I think this will get over in next, let's say, 1.5 months. Then we will see the current, the next, what you can say, the monsoon year, June to June, we will have 1,000-ton imports and a very good demand. Silver may remain low because after seeing the COVID last year, people may be a little bit careful in venturing into any what they feel is slightly risky commodity. With this, I think only one more thing I would like to add, that the amount of push BIS and all other journalists around the country are put on hallmarking and quality of the jewelry or gold which they are buying. This particular push may also give a lot of stimulus to the demand. Earlier, because of migration and other things, when a person used to be not in his hometown or a little bit away from his home village, he never used to buy bullions thinking, oh, my jeweler is honest, all other jewelers are thieves. I think this is the only industry where they say that every jeweler is a thief, and for a very long time they were right. But my jeweler was honest. Everyone was same. If there was some impurity, everybody had the same supplier, they are getting the same thing. But since this external confidence, which has been brought in by legislation and very well marketed by the right agencies, including World Gold Council, we feel that now a consumer is pretty confident when he's buying gold or gold jewelry, that I am getting what I am being told. Once that confidence is there, whatever slight dip we had seen in consumption because people were dislocated from their hometown is not going to remain. I know, I used to hear people saying, I want to buy this, but my granny is not there now. So I don't know how we'll buy. And I can only buy when I go to the jeweler. And if I used to, sometimes in Gujarat, some places I used to go, the jeweler used to send me, see, I got a fax or a phone from this person from this town or this city or US saying, keep this ready for me. Because they have that feeling that only their hometown jeweler is honest. Now, with this being not there and so many good corporates getting into this business, we feel the demand will improve. So I feel based on the good feelings which every person has said, saying that agricultural income is going to be better this year, bullion will get much more flip than what it was, what it performed last year. And as my estimation was, I see a consumption level in India to be 1,000 tons. I think I'll depend on you, Mrs.
Awesome, awesome. Yeah, thank you very much. Thank you very much, Bhargava. I think your optimism is certainly infectious. I'm sure a lot of people will now start believing that our import and our consumption will double from the current levels. Yes, why not? I think if our economy is going to do well, if our incomes are going to rise, and if the lost jobs are going to come back, certainly, of course, demand for gold will go up. That is why it's called a safe haven asset. That's why it's called, it has tremendous store of value. And you and I, we remember from the year 2000, 2001 till 2012, gold prices increased year on year, double digit. For 12, 13 years, it increased year on year. Before there is that fix as far as gold is concerned. There's no doubt at all. And that will continue. And in our country, that will continue.
I just add one small thing, that this is the only year, after a long time, we saw that gold duty was reduced by, in percentage term, by 2%, by 20%.
Yeah.
Which has made a major change in the way gold is dealt in this country.
That's right, correct.
Which is perhaps very comfortable for people like you and me to relate or follow it.
Right.
And that will change in figures. Let me not use more words on this, but it will change the figures.
Right. But it is also a fact that I think people are now going in more and more for lightweight jewelry. In most households, weddings, they have a fixed budget. 5 lakh ka lene ka hai, 10 lakh ka, 50 lakh ka lena hai sona. Therefore, whatever be the price, they'll buy. But obviously, the volume that they get is much less than when the prices were low. Therefore, demand for gold will continue. There's no doubt at all. We have, what is that word? Hindi mein bolte hain, moh hai humko sone ka. Anyway, thanks, Bhargava, but stay back. There may be some questions. Is Rajni back?
Rajni is back. Rajni is back.
Connected?
So
Rajni, would you like to continue?
Yeah. I'm just requesting Rajni to continue. Rajni, please unmute yourselves.
I tried to call her. It wasn't connecting. Yeah.
Okay. She's not responding. Hello. Yeah. Please unmute yourselves.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, sorry. So if we are running out of time.
No, not at all. Not at all. 10 minutes.
Okay.
You have 10 minutes. Yeah.
Okay. So I will just do the share screen and then get back to the slide that I was at.
Please. Yeah.
Is my screen now visible?
Yes.
Okay. Okay. So as I was discussing, we already established the importance of Southwest monsoon for India. We were coming and we were on the slide that was basically discussing textbook geography requirements of the Southwest monsoon most during the Kharif season. So just to reiterate that, just a quick primer, like I would like to call it, when we are heading into the Kharif season, the moisture requirements is the most for most of our Kharif crops during June and July. So that's when the panic buttons are pressed most if there is any delay. And of course, during the grain development stage, which is basically into August, early September. So more or less, if we get adequate rainfall during this time, then we are able to withstand most of the deficiencies, if any, that comes into where it comes in from monsoon with the kind of seed quality improvement that we have seen over the years. So these are quick, months that perhaps everyone who is monitoring monsoons and impact on agriculture and the economy just needs to quickly remember when they are doing that. And again, another factor in terms of monsoon is that if there is any delay, then you will see probably the farmer shifting from shorter duration crop like pulses, which of course India is trying to get self-sufficiency in and increase production in, and move towards crops which are a bit more resistant against water deficiency, like castor or coarse cereals. So these are quick points that we need to just remember as we head into the critical southwest monsoon and kharif crops. Here, what we are trying to do is look into how the acreage trends have been for kharif, which as we've already established, is largely impacted by southwest monsoon. So on the right side of the screen is a quick comparison of all our major crops, both during the Kharif season and the Rabi season, and the production targets which the government has set for major crops. This was touched upon by Chandrasekhar sir also for cotton and for oilseeds. We have just put the table that covers all major crops. And as always, government targets are ambitious. There is primarily a lot of focus to increase our self-sufficiency in oilseeds and pulses. So though oilseeds in 2021, the target is about 38 million tons from 37 million tons, which looks like a percentage increase. But as Chandrasekhar sir discussed in the earlier, in his discussion, that there is a lot of there's a lot of debate as to whether the government's number of 37 million tons is actually what the production numbers are. So though government is planning, whether in terms of quality of seeds, whether it is in terms of certain innovative way of increasing production by looking at states which are non-traditional oilseed growing states. In April, when they had the National Conference on Agriculture, the Ministry of Agriculture for oilseed specifically is looking at pushing non-traditional states like Bihar, Jharkhand, Orissa to see whether more oilseeds can be produced. So when it comes to Kharif acreage trends, the important point to remember is that the government is pushing to attain self-sufficiency for oilseeds, pulses. Like Chandrasekhar sir shared, the reason for oilseed sufficiency is because we depend on edible oil imports to meet 60-65% of our domestic requirements. That's a huge dependency and a huge outflow of our US dollars amounting to about $10 billion. So this is something that we will therefore get to see. If monsoons are normal, then there could be during the Kharif season an increase in oilseeds acreage, even in certain paddy centric states like Haryana, which is all that is being targeted for 2021 specifically, and perhaps going forward for the reasons that has been discussed. So the acreage trends, apart from monsoon, is also very largely impacted by government policies, MSP, which crop is getting procured, whether it is wheat, whether it is cotton, whether it's oil seeds like mustard seed, and of course the price returns. So when we saw a huge run up this season in oilseed prices, in cotton prices, we are definitely going to see, apart from southwest monsoon, the impact on agriculture to also being influenced by the current trend of prices. As I come towards my last few slides, I basically try to summarize here the impact of the Kharif acreage from major influencers, starting with rainfall, which we've discussed at length, government policies in terms of MSP, where we had seen that in 2020, MSPs for oilseeds were increased by 5%. For pulses, it was increased. The focus year after year in recent years has been to increase our self-sufficiency for these crops, and which has resulted in government increasing MSP. The current year MSP is not yet out, expected somewhere into June. But again, as the early signs are showing, the government is focused on increasing oilseed production, and is therefore something that we should expect the MSP also should be should see a decent increment in prices and will influence acreage patterns as well. Again, state government policies like the Telangana, the Telangana which has schemes that motivates farmers with terms of cash incentives so that they grow the right crop as per the market requirements. So just quickly putting through, apart from rainfall, it's the government policies, MSPs, and finally the price, which as we always say is bhav bhagwan hai. It always regulates the demand supply requirements for agri markets. And as you can see, we of course, the exchange derivative prices for soybeans, though currently at 7,000 plus, but through the year, if you compare the October, which is when the season starts, to currently, and then compare that to the previous year, we are seeing that we are sitting on prices for soybeans, which is 25% higher year on year, for cotton, which is 11% higher. And these are numbers that definitely, apart from monsoon, is going to influence the acreage for Kharif and therefore the production. So these are our few observations that we wanted to share. And I now hand over to the other parts. Thank you so much.
Yeah. Thank you very much, Rajni, for this detailed presentation. Very nice, very interesting. You filled in a lot of gaps. Excellent. In fact, my own sense is that the cotton acreage could even test 13 million hectares in the upcoming Kharif planting, which was about 12.2 million hectares last year, last Kharif. And obviously, even soybean, I'm sure there is a significant potential for increase in soybean acreage also. Anyway,
the seed availability, of course, is something that is of concern. So though the price is good, very true.
Now I think I'll invite Chaitanya to share his thoughts from MCX. He will give his perspective. I think we will probably end or extend this till probably 5:40 or 5:45. So Chaitanya, please take your time. There's no great
good evening, sir. Thank you, Chandrasekhar sir and Rajni madam. Most of our points are already covered, but it'll be very easy for me to complete within the schedule. So I will quickly go through the presentation, and I will try to skip those points which already covered by our speakers. So can you see my presentation?
Yes, yes.
Yeah, so I am skipping first 2-3 slides. Straight away I'm going to so the probability, like normal rainfall is both the SkyMet as well as IMD has given. The probability is more than 60 to 70%. However, this is very important slide. However, the spatial distribution of the rain is very crucial, as Chandrasekhar sir said in his presentation. So IMD, what this time one of the critical this thing is that IMD is identifying the core zones as per the distribution. So based on their report, which will come the end of this month, the agricultural department is going to give advice to the farmers. That is one very crucial point. Not apart from other critical points. So I will directly go to the our contracts commodities, and as you know, it is very important for the Kharif crop that southwest monsoons are very important, because mainly India is 159 million hectares are cultivated pan-India, out of which 110 million hectares are cultivated during Kharif. Sowing will happen during Kharif season. So our dependency on this monsoon southwest monsoon is huge. And similarly, if you see, like my other speakers have mentioned that main kharif products are like paddy and oil seeds, as well as the coarse grains and the pulses and cotton. So we have one well performed performing contract, that is CPO, and the though we have very less production in India, but in India, as you know, people usually shift the consumption from one oil to other. Palm olive is highly consumed in India, but production-wise it is less. But the price, the other productions like soybean, other oils like rapeseed, mustard oils and all production is critically depend on interly dependent on each other. So we are expecting the soya production would be high for this season, as Chandrasekhar sir just told. So this time the import and all, I mean, for crop wise, it is very good for the oil seed because of the southwest monsoon predictions. And like in kapas also, if you see the regional wise, Punjab, Haryana, Rajasthan, and southwest regions are the major producing states. So last year, though the rainfall is normal, but there is a ill-timed, that is untimely rainfall was there observed. And in Gujarat, the cotton production in Gujarat is 30%. And because of this untimely rainfall, there is a quality issue has come in Gujarat region. But however, there are other factors. Because of the other factors, the demand has gone up, like international markets, the exports have restarted during this season. So that's how the demand has gone up. And also this time their sowing will be high as per the market sources, sowing area. Last year it was 12.9 million hectares now, which is 3-4% growth compared to previous year. So this year also there could be nearly 10% jump in the sowing area. And also if monsoons and all everything goes well, there will be a bumper crop for the cotton. And and because of so many factors, lot of probabilities, I suggest the panel as well as the members who are attending this meeting to inform about our instrument for cotton and kapas for hedging their risk on MCX platform. And we have menthol contract, but menthol is not a kharif crop. But early preset of monsoon may influence the menthol production. So it is indirectly, though there is no direct relation for the southwest monsoon. And we have one more success. Recently, we have launched rubber. Rubber, the rainfall will give the growth of the. I mean, there is a correlation between the rainfall and rubber tree growth. But however, during monsoon time, the rubber latex collection will decrease because of the collection issue. It will be latex will be collected from the directly from the tree, and during this, during the monsoon, it will reduce. But however, there are other factors like humidity, moistures, and soil fertility. These are all the main influencing factors for the rubber productions. So, like Chandrasekhar sir said and Rajni sir said, Rajni madam said, told, this time the prediction of southwest monsoon are good, and the probability is more than 60%. But however, one important factor is for Southwest monsoon prediction is that the spatial distribution that IMD is going to give this month end. Most of the, I believe that that is one crucial report based on which our production will be dependent during the Kharif season. So with this, I would like to say thanks to all the participants.
Great. Thank you very much, Chaitanya. The points very well made. I was, and I'm also, I think you just took about 10 minutes to complete this. Very good. Therefore, we don't have to possibly extend it much beyond 5:30. It's okay. Now, I have some thoughts to share, but let me go over to Bhargava and talk to him about demand for gold in India. He's absolutely upbeat. He's absolutely bullish. He's looking at something like 900 tons to 1,000 tons of gold import in financial year April 21 to March 22, which is certainly very ambitious. Do you, Bhargav, any thoughts on this volume, this quantity? Will it be, how much of it could be potentially converted into jewelry and consumed, and how much could be for inventory building, and how much could be for export? Any very broad thoughts?
I would say that consumption would be more than 75%.
75%. That is our domestic consumption.
Domestic consumption.
That is jewelry sale. Jewelry sale. Awesome, awesome.
Jewelry, and it could be a little bit of coins and other sort of.
Oh, that's okay. I understand. That's okay. It'll be correct. Excellent,
yeah,
excellent.
It could be little, when we talk to any of our friends in RBI, they get upset, saying instead of putting money into any productive use, they are putting into gold.
Yeah.
And that, unfortunately, in this period of COVID, I don't see anybody putting money into any expansion. And if there is some saving, it is going to go in gold.
Yeah. No, it's true. I agree. So 75% goes for jewelry and other preparations.
Yeah.
And how much could be out of this import? How much would indirectly get exported in the form of jewelry and gem and jewelry export, etc.? Very ballpark number.
Ballpark figure I would put it around 125 to 150 tons.
So 10-12%. 10 to 12% of import.
Yeah.
So 75% consumption, domestic consumption, 10 to 15% export. So that makes it 90, and possibly 10% is kind of inventory building, replenishing stocks, etc.
Yeah.
There is one question. Any thoughts on how much, given the price of 45,000 plus currently? Do you think there'll be more of recycling now, and how much that quantity could be?
See, recycling will be constant, and I would put it a figure at around 200 tons. It could have been
200
more.
tons.
200 tons. I would put it because there has been lot of gold which will be coming out and being brought back. As all of you say, if there is a good monsoon, it doesn't mean everybody has enough money to buy their requirement. So there will be either pledging, but pledging may be, people are not very confident to do on both sides. So I see a little bit of more sale and coming back.
Yeah.
And there is constantly being a good figure of recycling. Recycling in normal case would be around 300 ton plus, but jewelers are not very keen that person come in and sell, stand in the line. Of restriction of people they want to get into the shop.
Yeah. Awesome. Very insightful. Very insightful. Rajini, do you have any comments to make on anything beyond what you had said?
No, I think between
covered.
you and me and Chaitanya, we've covered I think most of it.
Okay.
Unless there is anything specific that you want me to touch upon.
Before I take up, I want to take up the questions. And before I take up the questions, I thought I should request each panelist to say if there is any point they want to make. Chaitanya, do you have anything to add beyond what you had said before we take up the questions?
Those are most of like
Right.
most of the
I'm
points
okay.
are covered.
I'm okay. There is one question which says, will tightness of seed supply impact crop acreages of soybean and corn? If yes, which crops will gain? The Agriculture Ministry has recognized there is tightness of supply, but they haven't actually used the word shortage. Okay, the Agriculture Ministry says supplies are tight, but they are going to request the private sector and the National Seeds Corporation to release some seeds into the market. So whether there is going to be a genuine shortage of these seeds of both maize and soybean, and what is that extent of shortage is something at least I have not been able to decipher. I'll have to check with Krishi Bhavan Agriculture Ministry sources. We actually don't know. It'll be very difficult. But my sense is, given the current price of both the soybean and corn, I think there is a great opportunity for expanding the acreage. But whether absolutely good seeds will be used, or like it happened last year, poor quality, average quality seeds with less seed vigor will be used. I think it's very difficult to predict at this point of time, because hardly any communication. I'm not even able to call anybody in the Agriculture Ministry really to get information. So, but it's a good question. We'll work on it certainly. In fact, there could be more acreage coming to cotton and to soybean, and all oil seeds in general, and of course also to pulses, because even pulses prices are all above the minimum support price. Is there any tightness of cotton seed supply? No, I have not heard of any tightness in cotton seed supply. Uh, what about demand due to COVID in India, keeping in mind that COVID won't be over soon? Throw some light. Yes, last year we faced massive demand destruction in pulses, in edible oil, in gold consumption, in fact, across commodities. But remember, it was a strict national lockdown the whole of April, May, June, and then partially we started the unlock in July or August, if I recall correctly. This year, there is no national lockdown, but there are regional lockdowns, okay? And therefore, the extent to which demand was destroyed last year, that will not happen this year. There will be some demand destruction, whether it is for essential food commodities, or even gold for that matter. But that will not be as bad as it was last year. There is, in my opinion, I don't see any significant demand destruction this year. And number two, what is also important is the vaccination program. It started in our country already, although while we are kind of going through the peak of the pandemic at this point of time, and all the horror stories are coming out, but yet vaccination is also is going on, and maybe over the next 3 months time or so, very large sections of the population should have got vaccinated by then, and that will also boost the confidence level of people. Will agriculture commodity prices increase because of the current situation? No, I'm afraid not. In fact, if there is anything, Kharif production should improve. There could be a small destruction of demand. And as I said in my slide, in the second half of the year, Northern Hemisphere is going to produce more of corn, of wheat, of soybean, cotton, all oilseed crops, rapeseed, etc., canola, and therefore global prices will soften in the second half of 2021, which will obviously have a reflection in the domestic prices. Therefore, I don't see the kind of high prices that prevail today prevailing in the second half of the year. Although for this seminar, we are not getting into price outlook, etc. We shouldn't be discussing price outlook. Uh, is there's a why there is firming of oil in the consumer market last 3 months? Yes, there is a massive shortage of oil seed production around the world. There's a shortage of oil, soybean oil production. Palm oil production is not growing. Rapeseed oil production is down. Sunflower oil production, particularly in Russia and in Ukraine, is down. And therefore, sunflower oil prices have gone up from $800 or $900 to currently $1,600. And we import very large quantities of sun oil, something like 2 million tons. And obviously, obviously, local sun oil prices have gone up very, very sharply because our edible oil market, like our gold market, our edible oil market also tracks global trends and moves in tandem. The next question is, due to poor seed quality, how will it affect the quality of the final output and subsequently the quantity of export? Yes, much will, we need to, as we go along, we will have to assess and update information relating to seed availability and the seed vigor, and we'll also have I'm sure government will also be testing the kind of seeds that are coming into the market. I know certainly last year in Maharashtra, very poor quality soybean came into the market, went to the farmers and they planted, and actually they lost because the plants never germinated or did not germinate at the right percentage. For we still don't know. There is a question mark, but it is admitted position within the government that there is a tightness in the supply of seed. We don't have more information than that. As we go along, I'm sure we will know more. Okay. A question to Bhargav: will you please throw some light on expected prices of gold in the next 1 year? With due apologies, I know Bhargav will have a view. I have a view, but in this conference, we shall not discuss price outlook. Who's asking this question? Gangadhar. Gangadhar, with due respect, we will not be able to. You can connect with Bhargav privately, or you can write to the IMC. We will share our thoughts, but it can't be done in public when an exchange is involved in this event. Any forecast insight on spices market? I think you should write to the IMC. We'll share our thoughts. You should also write to MCX because they also have you have what you have cardamom contract, right? MCX has cardamom contract. They'll be able to share. Okay, all right. I think these are the questions. Another question: will bullion price increase? No comment. Sorry. If another question, yes, if both soybean and cotton expected to increase area, or which crop will lose? Primarily, some coarse grains can potentially lose acreage, but it is not that both soybean and cotton acreages are going to double. You're not saying that. There will definitely be an increase. For example, from I think last year, cotton was 12.2 million hectares, if I remember correctly, the acreage. It can go up by 4 or 5 lakh or 7 lakh hectares, closer to probably 13 million. I'm sorry, I'm saying lakhs. Last year was 12.2 million hectares. It can potentially go up by 7 or 8% to about 13 million hectares, and possibly it could replace some of the coarse areas. Soybean again. As you know, in Madhya Pradesh and in parts of Maharashtra and in parts of Rajasthan, again, it can, the only crop I can see that it can replace partially is coarse grain. So both soybean and coarse grain, whatever expansion of area, but it is also possible some fallow land, unused land can also come into cultivation. So it is not that an expansion in acreage will have to eat into the share of some other crop. So fallow land can also come into cultivation. Okay, anything? Very insightful session. Okay, all that knowledgeable. Okay, all right. Please treat gold as store of value. Yeah, that's okay. Yeah, that's what Bhargav has said. Oils and fats inflation has increased 25% last month. What will be the trend for the next 6 months? Well, as I said, in the second half of the year, one can expect a rebound in global oilseeds and oils production. And therefore, that will, once there is a rebound in production and shortages ease substantially, there will obviously be a softening impact on oilseeds and oil prices. I am thinking that can potentially start to happen from August onwards. Okay, because why am I saying August? In the month of August, the USDA will release their crop report for the 21-22 crop, and we will know what those numbers are. And the USDA numbers are fairly reliable. Incomes of there is another question. Incomes of the working class has come down. Many have lost their jobs. Do you think demand will come down? The COVID demand for essential food commodities, in my view, may not decline very sharply. Yes, there will definitely be some decline in demand. People have lost jobs and people have no incomes. There will be some demand destruction, but not on a scale that we faced in 2020. But I would think that loss of jobs and loss of incomes for people will certainly have an impact on what I would call a demerit commodity or demerit goods like gold. It could potentially have an impact. Okay, I think with this we would come to the end of this pardon me, the end of this webinar. Again, let me ask one last round. Bhargav, you have any final thoughts to leave for the audience?
What I commented, when you are looking at gold, please treat it as a store of value,
Right,
not something like a shares to give you fantastic return. Just store of value. That's the only thing I'd like to say.
Absolutely. Point taken. Point taken. Rajani, any parting comments?
The parting comments, of course, is that we are early in the season right now. A lot will unfold. So for everybody who has taken this time to log into this webinar should definitely look into the IMD forecast that will come out in May, that will have spatial distribution, should look at perhaps how the season ends during September, because some of the private forecasts that has come out shows abnormally high rainfall in September, and that's not going to be good news. But like I said, at this point in time, we want to remain focused that it's going to be a normal, good monsoon season with good production trends. But having said that, these are a few of the factors that one can look upon and maybe flag and monitor. That's about it.
Correct. Thank you, Ma. Thanks, Rajani. Chaitanya, any parting comments you have?
Yeah. Yes, sir. I am going to answer the same answer you already given, but whether this is a question from Mr. Gangadhara, that whether soybean and cotton expected to increase the area, which crop will lose the area? Yeah, you rightly said that it is a coarse grain may lose the area, but if you see last year, is the record sowing area compared to previous 2 years, and in 2016 we have sowed area is 106 million acres. Now it is last year was 110, so there is a growth, and which is a record. So like you said, there will be a shallow area that can be cultivated if the monsoon is expected as informed by IMD and the SkyMet.
Very nice. Okay, I think with this we will bring this event to a close. I want to thank all my fellow panelists and expert speakers. Bhargav Vaidya, thank you very much. You never said no to our invitation. Thank you very much, Rajani. Same case, you never said no to our invitation. Always a pleasure to have you. Thank you, Chaitanya, for representing MCX and so effectively putting forth. The point that I want to drive home is very simple. There are risks in the market. There are uncertainties in the market. And when you face these risks, when you face these uncertainties, particularly a price risk, the best time-tested scientific way is to go to a commodity futures exchange and hedge your risk. That's it. I think if that is done, I think your margins will be well protected. There are a number of products available with MCX as a commodity exchange, and you can explore futures, contracts, options, contracts, etc., etc. And therefore, these options should be explored from a price risk management perspective. That's a message I thought we should give to all the participants. So thank you very much. I also want to thank my colleague Selby and of course Anita for organizing all this. Thank you very much. Good luck and God bless you all. We are going to be doing a number of events. We'll keep all the participants posted. Thank you very much. Stay safe.
Thank you
Selvi.
all.
Thank you.
everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you, Selvi. Thank you, Anita.
Thanks.
Stay safe. Stay at home.
Same to you.
Can we leave now?